Ryan, one of the questions we had in our last class, and I wanted to ask you about it because the Whitney 2002, you remember it, you were actively involved. You may have even been a student at the time in 2002.
I was.
Yeah, and the Whitney broke open with interactive art in a major way at that year.
Sure.
85 to 95% of the show was digital, if not interactive. And we had Mark Napier, we had Margot Lovejoy, who happened to teach for us at Southampton. There was Benjamin Fry, Lisa Jebrat. I'm just going off some off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of the other ones, but there were a litany of people who were involved in that biennial that were completely interactive artists. Golan Levin, John Maida. Maida has gone on to now be the president of RISD, which was a big step for RISD. So it dipped. It dipped from 2002, and it's been fighting its way back. Next year, obviously, will be a biennial again in 2010. I want to see what happens. And one of the main issues I heard, the reason why it didn't last into 204 and 6 and 8, was that the dealers had no idea how to commoditize or monetize this new art medium.
Sure.
Okay? Do you see that as an issue as a working artist? If your image now can be broadcast on 10 million stations, 10 million things, in the same point in time, how do you now place a value and commodity on that art?
Well, that I think is definitely the tricky part, because I do think that galleries and art dealers do have a hard time selling media-based work in a sense of how many people are actually going to pay for a DVD of a video artist's work, and how much are they actually going to pay for that, and how much are they actually going to use it? How much use value is there in a piece of video art? Is someone going to buy a projector and project it into their living room space on a regular basis? And I think there's still a gap in how the presentation of that can become a little bit more user friendly right now. So I think there is definitely a struggle in that sense. But the nice part about it, if you're an individual independent artist, like I am and like yourself, the beautiful part about the internet is that you can create a space and a place and a network of people who are interested in not only looking at the work, but are interested in talking about it and sharing it, hence getting your exposure out there, a lot greater than maybe taking it, just into, say, Chelsea and trying to make a name for yourself as just a video artist.
So you're almost an indie musician, so to speak, but you're an indie artist.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, I was telling you this earlier. I have over 2,300 followers on Twitter, and over 1,200 people that follow me on Facebook, and over 1,800 people that follow me on Flickr. And if you add those numbers up together, you're talking about over 5,000 people that are interacting with my material on an everyday basis, both responding back to me and sharing it with their networks that go beyond that number multiplied by however many you want to assess.
Yeah.
And I feel that the middleman is slowly becoming bypassed to a degree, and I think it's a great thing. I think artists should take responsibility for learning all of these new technologies and finding where their work fits, while creating a process for themselves that they can document and share with other people. It's really what this whole internet and communication thing is about. It's about sharing so we can all learn from each other.
And it's free.
And it's free. I mean, well, sure, it costs money to have an internet connection, but for the most part, it's well worth the use value that you pay in your monthly internet bill.
First of all, our blogs are free. Our iChat is free. I'm recording you for free.
That's right.
I'm going to compress you, which sounds... And this will be exposure for you, as you said, we were talking before. You can link to this page, and it's going to build your reputation and hopefully build, we're having a good discussion, and do another piece on Ryan, which is wonderful. Now, again, I hate MySpace just because of the community that exists around it. But years ago, I had a student here named Jill Decker, and we were debating the future of the web, and she was a very smart woman. Very had her quirks, but very smart. And one of the points she brought up very simply was that social media networks, socialized specific networks, are really the future of the internet.
Yeah.
And you can see that today. There's a great site called Vanderlei Designs, named after the Seinfeld, I guess, where they have this listing, this incredible listing on it. I'll send it to you, of all the social media sites, Port for wine enthusiasts, on and on and on and on and on. Okay, so this division is occurring now. The artists can also use this space. So you no longer need Gagosian. You no longer need OK Harris.
Yeah.
You no longer have to make Ivan Karp happy. Okay, I think he's dead, but anyhow, you no longer have to make these people, Mary Boone, happy, and Leo Castelli and all these old school. You can just simply establish your venue, your space this way.
And that's exactly what people are doing. I mean, if you think about it, if you're actively participating on a daily basis in updating your WordPress blog, your Twitter status, your Facebook status, and your Flickr account, you're basically branding yourself, whether you're conscious of it or not. You're slowly building a formula and a series of steps that turn into a habitual practice, and it's actually really a helpful skill for a lot of artists, because artists in the past have had a reputation of being kind of lazy or not exactly as quick as the business people. But in today's world, you have to be your own business person if you're an artist, and we're in flux. You know, technology is forcing us to move out of our comfort zone and to adjust to the stuff that's you know, a part of our time right now. And I think you and I were talking about this the other day. You have to think in a meta type of consciousness almost, where you're here in the now, but there's a part of you that is still a few years ahead in terms of how you can transcend what you're doing now into a year or 2 years from now.
And also, one of the other points was I modeled this after Napster. We modeled this after the music industry, in the sense that Todd Rundgren, they're too young to remember him, maybe Jefferson, me, and you know Todd Rundgren. He did this in 1989, 1988 with the Video Toaster. He said there will be no middlemen in the music industry in 15 years. In 10 years. He said, I will be distributing my music via the internet without a distribution house. And he was making big strides towards this 20 years ago, in the late 80s. So now you're talking about the same model for the fine artist. You're talking about getting rid of the gallery and letting the aesthetic be judged by the people. Sure. More so than by the curator.
Well, I think it's important that the people are a part of that process, you know, and not everybody has access to get into the major cities of the world and participate in what's just happening in galleries. I mean, the internet makes it that much more expansive. You know, the context of the gallery is no longer just a physical place you go and visit. It's also a virtual place that you can go and visit, and you can experience the work in a different context. It's just as important as going to the gallery and seeing it firsthand. Just like your virtual personality is just as important as your physical personality, because we're interacting in both worlds. Most people don't really think about that, especially when it comes to artists. I'm finding that a lot of artists are themselves in person, but when they go on the internet and they create a Facebook account or a Twitter account, they don't use their real name and they don't use their face as their avatar, and it makes it really difficult for people to identify who they are and what it is they're trying to communicate. So,
and there's a falseness to their art then. There's a problem with their art, because your art should be you.
Absolutely.
You should live your art. Although we have a Cindy Sherman, who is a metamorphosis of, she went to Buffalo the same time I did. So I've always watched her career. You have, I'm trying to think of the gentleman years ago, Ray Coombs, who had everybody else do his paintings. You again now get into the internet artists, where the user experience, Camille Utterback and John Maida, people I named before, the user experience makes